So in this last section, I'm going to talk a little bit about like influence and persuasion. Now, I want to be very clear. This is not a lesson in the dark arts. Like actually, this is a pretty good primer for executive presence. And as a leader, you always want to dial that up a little bit. Okay. I also want to impress upon you that you do not use these techniques for malicious purposes. They only work if you're authentic, candidly, and if they're coming from a good place. Now, and also as people who are experienced in these things, like we know when someone's BSing us or trying to manipulate us in some way. So just cautionary tale up front. So starters, just go in prepared. You should have as much knowledge you can about the people you're talking to. The role, the company, the CEO, anything that happened recently on social or their strategic or news things that are going on. Like you need to have as much knowledge as you can. Good companies with sharp leaders, they're gonna do their homework on you. So be prepared, dress appropriately, make sure your social media is clean, like all the stuff you should be doing anyway, like just be prepared. Next one is that first impressions are critical. You know, and the studies will back this one up. People will make up their mind about you in the first 30 seconds. So do your best to influence that. Before the interaction happens, make a conscious choice to be in a positive frame of mind. Like whatever you need to do that, just like get yourself together. You want to smile, you know, even if it's over the phone. Actually, especially if it's over the phone, like you should smile. There will be a noticeable difference in your tone. Have good eye contact. People have a natural behavioral tendency to like kind of like look up as they're talking to you. I'm actually a pretty huge violator of that, but like focus on like, you know, looking at the people. Firm handshake, confident greeting. Do your best to make a really good first impression. Next one, be present. Like when you're talking to someone, be focused on them and only them. A common behavioral tick that people have, like their phone accessible, like for all that's pure and sacred, like don't do, like you should not be checking your phone, your email, your notifications, like nothing. This is, when you do that, you are signaling to the person you are with that they are just not important. Your phone should be silenced and like away. Studies have even shown that even the presence of a phone on the table statistically degrades the value of the conversation. Another tip, minimize the physical barriers. A normal thing that happens with like in-person meetings is like you'll be put in a room and like at the table and like the person will sit at the exact opposite of you. It's nothing wrong. It's just like an unconscious behavioral thing that's people do. When you sit at opposite sides, you're automatically framing the conversation to have an adversarial tone. So work around that. I personally, like I usually wait for them to sit down and then I sit near them. Or I'll say something like, I have some material that I want to show you. Is it okay if we do like a side-by-side, you know, or if it's a video conference, get as close to the camera as you can, okay? Have good posture. Anyone familiar with Amy Cuddy's power pose, which is like the Wonder Woman or the Superman stance? Like it's great. And it will actually increase your confidence and reduce your stress in like under 2 minutes. It's fantastic. If someone's meeting you in the lobby for an interview, always stand and wait. It conveys a sense of confidence, and it's a better it's a better first impression than sitting. Like people look better when they're standing than you sitting. You know, if you are like sitting in the interview, like have good posture. Don't slouch. Like for me, like sometimes if I have like a phone meeting, like I will actually stand, like because that'll reduce my anxiety and nervousness. So it's just something that may be helpful. Next one is commonalities. I always try to find 2 or 3 common interests in a meeting. You know, as human beings, we're hardwired to want to connect with other people. And when you have common interests with someone, you like them more, you know? So like show interest and ask questions and like dig in deeper into who they are as people. A good pro tip, a smart way to tell if someone's interested in what you were saying, you'll get like a little eyebrow raise, like, oh, that's interesting. Like you'll get that. And like, you may notice a little thing when they're talking and allows you to, you know, focus on the things that they're interested in. That's maybe an advanced technique. You want to respectfully be in their personal space. That's our next tip. Like you want to be in their space, but like not too close where it's creepy. Politicians and diplomats like use this technique all the time. Normal personal space is about like 2 feet. In New York, it's actually about 3. Not kidding. Latin America or like Middle Eastern countries, it's a little bit more intimate. So personal space is about a foot. By being in someone's personal space, you're accelerating a deeper connection with the individual. As well, next point, be aware of your body language. Watch the unconscious defensive gestures, like super common ones, crossing your arms across your chest, like doing this thing, or clenching your fist, crossing your legs, or covering your face, not directly facing the individual. Like you want to be very aware of yourself and how you are presented. Like for me, like I'm very Italian, so I talk with my hands. If you haven't noticed, I actually make a conscious effort to restrain myself a little bit. So just like be aware. Another really good influencing technique is to invite them into the problem. And this one's great if you're trying to come to a resolution about something. It's actually an FBI negotiation technique. Let's say you're having like a final salary discussion and you're trying to come to an agreement. You might say something like, I really want to make this work with you. We're trying to come to an agreement about X. How can we solve this problem? By inviting them into the problem, they automatically go into solution mode. So it's actually really fascinating to watch in action. But like you want to invite them into because you're working together to try to come to a resolution. And the last point I want to talk about is be kind. Especially the person you see in the mirror, like none of this is easy. Like work is hard, life is hard. Just like give yourself a break and keep at it.